TG Geeks, episode 48, November 23rd, 2015. Quoth the Raven, Clara is no more. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. I am Keith Lane, and we are coming to you from lovely TG Squared Studios in Phoenix. TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona. Well, it is lovely, TG Squared Studios.
Well, I would hope so.
Anyway.
And I'm Ben Raggington, also here in lovely... That was one heck of a little spoiler you gave there. Phoenix,
What?
Arizona.
What do you mean?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing.
No,
Pay
nothing.
no attention to the man behind the microphone.
Absolutely not.
All right, got some news. Let's get to it.
So, have you ever heard of a movie called Midnight Special?
I have not.
I have not either.
What the heck is it?
It's a little film that a man named Jeff Nichols is putting out. And if anybody wants to wonder who Jeff Nichols is, well, he's not exactly done a ton of stuff. Well, maybe a lot of things behind the scenes, but he's recently gone into writing. He started writing back in 2007, as well as directing. Some of his credits include Shotgun Stories, which he wrote and directed, Take Shelter, which he wrote and directed, Mud, which he wrote and directed, Making a Scene, which he only wrote, and then Loving, which he wrote and directed. I'm sensing a theme here.
A theme.
And he is putting out a little sci-fi film called Midnight Special. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because he's trying to kind of go back to some of the exciting chase type sci-fi films that were kind of popular in the mid to late 70s and maybe even early 80s, comparing his project to things like Close Encounters as well as Starman. And it's a simple little plot. It simply reads as his son happens to have unique gifts. It's a weird word to use, but his gifts are supernatural. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T., Starman, they were my inspirations. Actually, that's what he said. Very propulsive journeys that work when you can't predict what's going to happen next. He just kind of felt the need to make a movie that kind of harkens back to, I think, the big fun sci-fi films that you saw a lot that came out of Amblin Studios and things like that. I think he's kind of gotten a little tired of the movies that have been coming out lately. We've seen a lot of very dystopic science fiction recently, and he kind of wants to go back, and I hate to say this, but call it family friendly. I mean, as the plot goes, let me see, Adam Driver is starring in this film as a government agent tracking down a boy with supernatural powers. But apparently we got a nice government agent, so that's a flip from Starman. And that's really about it. We don't know a heck of a lot. The only reason I wanted to bring this up is because I thought this was a very interesting kind of technique about going back to something that could be considered family-friendly, fun science fiction that is Earth-based. So take that as you will. It comes out March 18th, 2016. And now...
We'll have to look for it.
Yeah, we'll have to look for it. It does actually look a little interesting. We do have a story for it on our website. It includes the theater poster. Check it out. That's kind of what grabbed me about it. There was just something about it that felt sort of nostalgic. Now, into the world of things can never stay the same. The title for Prometheus 2, which was originally to be called Paradise Lost, is now being called Alien Covenant. So we have now decided, or somebody, Ridley Scott or the studio, I'm not sure.
Scott. Oh.
Ridley Scott. Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's my Blazing Saddles moment.
That's Randolph Scott.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, somebody decided that making a sort of movie that falls within the Prometheus/Alien universe that has to do with Milton and his Paradise Lost just was a bit too heady. So they decided they wanted to do something about the covenant with Abraham instead from the Old Testament.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
Why not just call it Prometheus 2 and be done with it?
You know, you kind of think about that. As I said, Paradise Lost was a reference to John Milton's classic 16th century epic poem, which detailed the fall of Lucifer and man's fall from the Garden of Eden. But now we've got something that is more like an agreement between God and humanity. And maybe we can only take a guess that this is some sort of a reference between the relationship between mankind and the engineers that we meet in Prometheus. And if it combines theology and science, that could be really freaky. In any case, it is called Alien Covenant, and we do also have an official synopsis for it. It's not much, but this is what we've got. Bound for a remote planet on the far side of the galaxy, the crew of the colony ship Covenant, there's your Covenant, discovers what they think is an uncharted paradise, but is actually a dark and dangerous world, whose sole inhabitant is the synthetic David, as played by Michael Fassbender, survivor of the doomed Prometheus expedition. Yeah.
I figured that when you said it was a real short synopsis, I thought it was man meets alien, man dies.
Well, that was definitely the first Alien, that's for darn sure. But, considering that this is all supposed to dovetail into the Alien series, because these are still sort of prequels to the first Alien film that he did with Sigourney Weaver. With that in mind, these stories are supposed to eventually dovetail back, especially Prometheus 3, or whatever that one's going to be eventually called. That one is supposed to definitely tie into the mission that the Nostromo and Sigourney Weaver's character, Ripley, that doomed expedition, the one they were on. So we just have to wait and see how that's all going to kind of tie in.
Ripley Scott?
Yeah, Ripley Scott, absolutely. Yeah, no relation. And Alien Covenant is due to be released October 6th, 2017.
Holy moly.
Yeah, kind of ways off, isn't it?
Well, let's change the name at least 10 more times.
Well, to be honest, this kind of gives me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies. It was bad enough that the studio decided to give Neil Blomkamp, I wouldn't say his walking papers, but they certainly gave him a big stop sign and told him to completely halt all production and development on his Alien film, which is supposed to be a sequel to Aliens, the James Cameron film. All fits into this nice universe. And the studio said, no, stop, don't do it. Let's wait until after Ridley is done with all of his stuff. And I'm thinking that is a really horrible idea. Now you're going through all these name changes. I mean, to me, that signifies a studio that is very unsure as to what they're dealing with. And to be honest, while Alien, Ridley's first film was, while that first film was an enormous, huge success, Prometheus was viewed as something of a disappointment. Fans didn't really go for it. Aesthetically, it's beautiful, but it doesn't quite have the claustrophobic terror. I think Ridley was more interested in trying to create something that just looked really gorgeous, and instead of trying to create something that was going to literally just scare you out of your mind, which the first Alien movie does. It terrifies you. It did me. I didn't sleep for 3 nights because of it. I mean, it scared me that badly, and I was 9 or 18 when I saw it. So I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that. Now, speaking of nervous, yes, this is the gift that keeps on giving, and I really wish it wouldn't. Because, once again, there's talk of a reboot for Logan's Run.
No!
Thank you, Darth Vader.
No, that was actually what Scott posted on my
Oh, was it?
Twitter, yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, that'll be quite apt. Yes, apparently Peter Sciretta at Slash Film wrote a story about this, how this project, it's something that Hollywood has been wanting to see for the past 10 years. And we've talked about it in our own little studio, and we've talked about it in past shows, like a certain little slice of sci-fi, for example. At one point, Bryan Singer was supposed to do it, and then that completely fell apart when he dropped out to do Superman Returns. Then Joseph Kosinski was going to be doing it, but then he ended up doing Tron Legacy for Disney. So now at this point, it looks like it's going to be Simon Kinberg who's going to be doing it. Collider caught up with Kinberg, and they were able to get a little bit of updates about him. And he simply said that he's doing sort of a comparison to a Hunger Games kind of franchise.
Oh, Lord.
That's
God.
the key word. Franchise. We're not just talking a single movie. They want to create a franchise.
What?
I'm sorry, people. McDonald's, that's a franchise. Pizza Hut, that's a franchise. Logan's Run, leave it alone.
Exactly.
I mean, I'll admit, it's a very dated-looking film, but in a very strange sort of way,
It works.
it has become something of a classic because it looks so dated.
Yeah.
And other people have tried it. CBS desperately tried to create a series out of it. It was literally an abomination. I don't think I got past episode 2. I couldn't stand it. It was hideously bad. So what Kinberg wants to do here, he wants to create something for a younger audience with a big idea.
No, things are sometimes best left alone.
I
Create
agree.
something new.
Yeah.
Go write an original story.
Yeah, why not? Well, oh boy, there's nothing original these days. I mean, if you want to be serious about it. Logan's Run is supposed to be something of a granddaddy.
Speaking of the next 3 stories.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And this one.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, there's certainly a theme going on tonight. Logan's Run is the first of these kinds of sci-fi films. They were followed much later by movies like Maze Runner and Hunger Games, books that were adapted to movie. But in those cases, those books are arguably much more successful than the movies are. Logan's Run, the movie, in my opinion, far exceeds the book, but that's just personal taste for me. So that's where we're kind of going with this. Kinberg simply kind of said there's some thought about what the future films would be and where you could take Logan in future movies. Oh, man, you're stabbing me in the heart when you say that. But the focus is on make a great movie. Hey, I got an even better idea. Don't make it.
Yeah,
just don't make it.
Write an original story. My
yes.
God.
I mean, he's saying it was
even if it's similar to Logan's Run or something, but don't
remake Logan's Run.
No.
Leave Logan's Run alone. Yeah. Enough of that. We really don't know much else about when this movie is going to be coming out. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. We do have the full story for this on our website.
Well, of course, you know that if they do make it, we'll have to see it. Just
so that we can really bitch about it and say, we told you the original was so much better. Yes, and we'll have the story for this on our show notes. Now, on to something completely different, but not entirely. There's going to be a remake of Frankenstein of sorts.
How many times has that been made?
Way too many, but this time it's a TV series.
What?
Yeah. This is a TV series. It's going to be on Fox, and it's going to be called Second Chance. Now, the full synopsis for Second Chance reads as this. 75-year-old Jimmy Pritchard is a shell of his former self, a drinker, a womanizer, and a father who has always put work before family. Pritchard was forced to resign as LA County Sheriff for corrupt conduct more than a decade ago. Now, some 15 unkind years later, he is killed when he stumbles upon a robbery at the home of FBI agent Duval Pritchard, one of his 3 children. But death is surprisingly short for Jimmy, who is brought back to life by billionaire tech genius twins Mary and her brother Otto Goodwin. founders of the social networking empire Looking Glass, resurrected as a younger version of himself with physical abilities of which he never dreamed. Man, I'm thinking Superman versus $6 Million Man in there. A reanimated Pritchard is given a second chance at life. What will he do with it? Will he seek vengeance against those who killed him? Will he try to repair the damage he did to his family? Will he embrace a new sense of purpose or fall prey to old temptations? Interesting. The show hails from writer and executive producers Rand Ravitch they did Life and Crisis, as well as Howard Gordon, who did Homeland. And it all centers, as I said, on this disgraced 75-year-old ex-sheriff.
So are they the one that put forward a modern-day Frankenstein, or did you coin that phrase?
No, they were the ones. This was their take on it. They looked at it as sort of they said it like this: a modern take on Mary Shelley's classic, which was initially titled Frankenstein. Oh, the show was originally going to be called Frankenstein, then the Frankenstein Code. They were going to call it Frankenstein.
It's very loosely based.
Well, there's been a lot of interpretations on the Frankenstein story, as you pointed out. I remember back in the early 70s, there was something called Frankenstein: A True Story, which was hardly a true story. I mean, it was like a mini series. I remember David McCallum was in it.
Well, it was. If I remember, it was far more true to the book, and the book was, my God, the book is a tome.
The book is a monster. Yes, and it's supposed to
really.
Yeah, I mean, ba-dum-bum.
Where's my rim shot?
Yeah, really. And you're right. That kind of gives us a monster, at least in that telling. We had a man who was literally put back together, brought back to life. There was not this, kind of Boris Karloff looking monster that we've got in the classic James Whale movie. So in a way, this feels like it's going to be more back in line with what we had. But the fact that they're reanimating him as a younger version is what I think is kind of fascinating about this. And the executive producer is going to be Hugh Fitzpatrick. Michael Cuesta is going to be the executive producer. And the series premiere, hold on to your hats, January 16th, 2016. Now we know what is going to be replacing Minority Report.
Interesting.
They're going from sci-fi to I don't know what this is, horror, I'm not sure what. It could be another Almost Human. We could be only lucky.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah.
We have a trailer for it. It'll be in our show notes, so you can check it out there. Now, from one abomination into the next. And this one really just shocked me to no end. Yes, Disney, that cannot seem to stop doing live action remakes.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
I mean, this really falls into the category of how can we take a bad idea and really make it suck? They're going to do a live-action remake of Winnie the Pooh.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Oh, but it gets so much better! Yes, apparently...
Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
Oh, I know. Apparently, writer-director Alex Ross Perry has signed on to do the live-action Winnie the Pooh film. And this has got a lot of people kind of freaked out because he's really known for doing really dark and intense stuff. And it's like, oh, she's going to do something for Disney? Wow. I mean, this is going to traumatize kids. Let's get honest here. Oh, but it gets worse because you know what the template for this movie is going to be?
Oh, what?
AI, artificial intelligence. Exactly.
Oh.
I stunned you into silence, didn't I?
Yeah, and I'm usually anything but a loss for words.
I know. The story will pick up with Christopher Robin all grown up. And some events bring him back to Winnie and the 100-Acre Woods.
Oh, dear God.
In an interview with Collider, Perry discussed his inspirations for the film, including Spielberg/Kubrick's 2001 sci-fi drama, in which he said there's a lot inspired by the relationship between David and Teddy. Now, David was the young AI boy, and Teddy was his not quite so AI teddy bear that was his traveling companion throughout that movie. And he says, that's not really a children's film at all. Oh, yeah, think? And yet you want to do something where AI is the template and you want it to make a children's film? Yeah, that just boggles the mind. I mean, the movie is crushingly depressing, which is why I've only seen it twice, and I don't think I could bear to see it a third time. But it's the relationship between the human and the toy bear that is very interesting. So this is something that he's really been wanting to do. And he's also kind of looking at the Toy Story franchise a lot, because there's this thing about toys that are actually alive, just as Pooh Bear and his friends are not necessarily entirely all stuffed animals.
This guy sounds like a scam artist. He's saying the right words to Disney, and they're eating it up.
Yeah, that's a really good call.
Like,
yeah.
what?
I know. He also said that.
Sorry,
But no, you make a really good point.
I'm sure he's a very good director.
Well,
the
stuff that he has done, the material that he has put out, has been considered very, very good. But it's got everybody in Hollywood, all the industry insiders, they're all scratching their collective heads, thinking, I mean, why him? Well, apparently, he said, I've been talking about a children's property I was interested in, which of course seems surprising to everyone. Duh. It was just one of those things after I did Listen Up, Philip, that I said to people that I care about. Nothing happened with the children's adaptation, but 8 months later, my agent randomly called me and said, hey, I was on the phone with somebody at Disney and they're trying to get Winnie the Pooh going. So Disney is initially at fault, and then they start peddling it off, and they submit it to this guy. I mean, all he simply said after his agent asked him about it, he said, yeah, I will earn that job. I will earn that job the minute they talk to me.
Yeah.
Aha. I think you nailed it when you just said that this man's a scam artist.
He's saying what they want to hear.
Exactly. So we just have to kind of, I know. I mean, so I'm gonna put this out there for all you listeners. Has Disney gone too far with this latest live action remake?
Have they gone too far with live action remakes?
Have they gone?
Period.
Yeah. Well, did they make the right choice by going with an independent writer/director such as Alex Ross Perry? And is this another indication of the quote unquote animation to live action market becoming overly saturated? Now, we have our opinions. I think you can kind of guess what they are by the tone of our voice. But I would really like to hear what you people think.
You can comment.
That's right.
On our website.
That's right. On our
website. Facebook page.
On our Facebook page. We will share all that information a bit later. But yes,
you can even call our listener feedback line.
That's right.
469-844-3357.
Oh, very good.
469 TG Geeks.
That's right. Now, for the last of the reboot rage here going on. Netflix. Now, they've been really just riding high right now. I mean, let's look at what they've done in terms of original productions. Sense8, which was
incredible,
unfreaking believable. I mean, it was just wow. I can't wait for season 2.
Yep.
Daredevil. Holy smokes. Wow, people. That was another, home run.
Jessica Jones,
which just as of when we recorded this, dropped today, all 13 episodes on Netflix. And from everybody who has seen advanced screenings of the series, or at least the first 5 episodes, say it is amazing. And people are posting on Facebook right at this time saying how brilliant that TV series is. And then they've also taken shows that have been established in other countries, brought them over to the United States, and put on what I would call a domestic U.S. coat of paint on them. House of Cards, for example.
Yeah.
So now Deadline is reporting that the streaming service is looking to the 1965 cult TV series Lost in Space. Yes, that's their next big project, and it is already being written with an eye towards straight to series. So this is going to be another one of these things where they will most likely drop the entire show in one big batch for everybody to digest.
Now,
this new Lost in Space, let's see what the people have to say. It's currently being described as an epic. Well, of course you have to call it an epic, but grounded.
Grounded?
Yeah, grounded. Lost in space, grounded. I'll reserve my comment.
Oh, they got
I will-
lost on a planet. They're grounded.
Oh, the pain. I will reserve
the
my
pain.
comments for later. But it'll be a grounded science fiction saga focusing on a young explorer family from Earth lost in an alien universe and the challenges they face in staying together against seemingly insurmountable odds. It hails from feature writers Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless, who did, hey, Claire, this one's for you, Dracula Untold.
Warning, warning.
Ooh, nice call there. And will also executive produce with Kevin Burns of Synthesis Entertainment, as well as Neil Marshall and Mark Helwig of legendary TV-based Applebox. And Marshall is expected to direct.
Direct?
Direct.
I see.
Now, this... Okay, let me give you my first thoughts on this. One of the things that really made Lost in Space kind of stand out is it became very kitschy.
Yeah, but
Granted,
it was also for the time too.
It was.
It was Irwin Allen, so
yeah, it was Irwin Allen, and it came out right around the same time as Star Trek did. And admittedly, I've seen the unaired pilot, and you can see the original pilot for Lost in Space. I believe it is on Hulu. You can see it there. There's no Dr. Smith and there's no robot. And the Jupiter 2 is a single story ship. It's not a TARDIS.
yeah.
So in the beginning, the series was they were trying to be very science fiction. And I guess at some point when they started to kind of get a real read on Jonathan Harris and the way he was playing Smith, the series kind of started to become a bit more fantastic, a bit more outrageous. And I would say for cult fans, this is when Lost in Space really developed its charm. That's when it became fun. I mean, when you have like intergalactic toy makers,
Right.
things like that, or when you actually have a visit with
pirates, or
yeah, there was an episode with a pirate. In fact, he was one of the few characters that actually made a reappearance in the series. He was in season 1 and season 2. Man, I can't remember the pirate's name, but yeah, he was a real hoot. You've got this series that became something that was almost comedic in so many ways. And over the years, there had been attempts to try to make a very serious Lost in Space. There was a movie that came out, oh my word, I can't remember how many years ago. I remember John Hurt was in that film, as well as Matt LeBlanc. He was in it as well. And Gary Oldman.
1999.
I want to say 99. And I remember that Gary Oldman played Smith. Of course, they brought the original voice back for the robot. And I remember we saw it in the theater when it came out. It was okay.
Yeah,
merely okay.
And we have the film.
Yeah, we bought it on DVD.
1998.
Yeah.
I don't think we've watched it since we bought it.
No, once we got it on DVD, I don't even think we got it on Blu-ray. Once we watched it on DVD, that was it. We never saw it again. And then recently, we watched on YouTube. It was a treatment for a new Lost in Space series.
Oh, Lord.
Holy smokes, was that a piece of trash. Which tells me that if you can't make a good Lost in Space series, then maybe you should leave well enough alone. I think Lost in Space has become one of these properties that can no longer be remade.
Yeah.
Now, you had some opinions on this when we talked about it this morning.
Yeah, I think they're trying to make it, and they try to update it for today's sensibilities. But it just, I don't know that works.
I agree.
I think that for its time, it was what it was. It was our Irwin Allen, and Irwin Allen turned out a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
in that whole era.
This was his final series too, before he went to movies.
That was where he excelled, and it was the time, and things have moved on. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think socially speaking, I don't think it can be remade, even if you try to make it seriously.
Well, even if if they, I think the only way that it could be made is to just call it Lost in Space and not even have it even remotely resemble the series.
Well, but herein lies the problem. We saw the YouTube video, and that's what we got. And that was really utterly atrocious.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, wow.
I'm just of this mindset where I don't think it can be done.
Just do something different.
Yeah, go ahead and make something original, please. I mean, this comes back to doing remakes is not necessarily a great idea. I mean, once in a blue moon, you can pull something out of your hat, but I don't think this is one of those properties where it can actually work. So, I mean, in the meantime, people, if you really want to enjoy Lost in Space, you know what? It's on Blu-ray. Get it? It'd be far more enjoyable to see it that way, and I'm sure there's like just a host full of bonus material right there. So
I'm just not much for remakes, period.
Yeah, I'm really kind of done with remakes right now. So that's it. I mean, wow, what a way to end this depressing bunch of reboot rage stories.
Yep. All right, that's the news.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
And you know what that means. It is time for the birthdays. Here's a few selected birthdays for November 23rd through November 29th. November 23rd, Chris Hardwick.
This man,
the Nerdist.
This man is my hero. I mean, he seriously is my hero. I'm so jealous of a guy who can take his passion like that. I mean, he got lucky. He got really lucky in that he was able to get Nerdist Industries in with Legendary Pictures and just really, raking the money that way. But to be able to do what he does with his podcast, to be able to interview the people that he gets and to be paid for it, man, this man, I envy him. I love him. He's my hero. That's all I can say.
Yeah, 43 on November 23rd. Robin Roberts is 54. And William Henry Pratt.
Oh, that's very interesting because very early I was kind of going, "Brrr."
Yeah. Boris Karloff, born in 1887.
Wow.
November 24th, Noelle Hughes is 50.
My sister.
Your sister.
She's 50?
50.
I guess she would because I'm 54.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, now that just kind of freaked me out. My sister is 50?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm old.
Billy Connolly is 72.
Oh, I love him. He's hilarious.
Greg Lake, 67. Denise Crosby is 57 on November 24th, and she is going to be one of the...
She won a Guest at Fan Fest.
Guests at Phoenix Comic-Con Fan Fest. Dwight Schultz is 67.
He's 60. Well, yeah, I guess the A-Team was a long time ago.
Yep. And Scott Joplin was born in 1868. November 21st, November 25th, Ricardo Montalban.
Corinthian leather.
1920.
Wow.
Amazing, huh? November 26th, Charles Schultz was born in 1922. Peanuts.
Yes.
November 27th, Bruce Lee, 1941.
Wow. Oh, my favorite martial artist ever.
Yep. Bill Nye is 59. And Anders Celsius was born in 1701.
I wonder what's so special about him.
I wonder. He was an astronomer, actually.
Oh.
November 28th, Karen Gillan is 27. She's
She will also.
She's another
Fan Fest guest.
Fan Fest guest.
Yeah.
That works, doesn't it? And Randy Newman is 71.
Short people got no reason, says a short composer, because that's what he is.
Yep. And finally, on November 29th, Busby Berkeley was born in 1895.
Wow, his dance routines and choreography were like legendary.
Unbelievable. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
You can find culture at the theater. You can find culture in the bottom of an unwashed coffee mug. Or you can find culture on your iPod. Join Brad, Glenn, and Christina on Pod Culture, Equal Opportunity Geekness. Go to www.podculture.net.
Go give a listen to our friends over at Pod Culture. And now it's time for some listener feedback.
I got a couple of things. Last week, we reported on Michelle Gomez, who is going to be coming from across the pond and appearing as the lady in Gotham. Well, before I read the report, the feedback, what did you think of her?
I thought she was good.
She was good. She was interesting. She was kind of downplayed, but there was something really there that I think was interesting, and I would hate to see that be a one-shot.
Yeah.
I was kind of intrigued with her. Well, our good friend Claire O'Leary, she just simply wrote this. Squee! She's going to be awesome. And she kind of was.
Yes, she was.
In fact, to be honest, I liked her better as the lady than as Missy.
Yeah.
I did. Because Missy's just way too out of control. I'm sorry, Claire. That's just how I feel about it. But there was something very focused about her as the lady. And just the way she was all dressed. I mean, she really comes off as just somebody I would not want to piss off too much.
Yeah.
And then regarding the Lost in Space stories, holy crud. I mean, we put that story up and already we got 2 feedbacks. First one is from our good friend Brian Weber, who simply writes, please don't suck, please don't suck, please don't suck.
I could just hear him saying it.
Yeah, I can too. And then the second one was from your best friend, Bill Hensley from grade school.
Yes.
And he simply writes, I hope in the first episode they toss Dr. Smith out the airlock in his underwear.
There you go.
I would like that.
Thank you.
And that's our feedback.
That's our feedback. Just a reminder, our Facebook page is TG Squared Studios and TG Geeks Webcast. You can still look us up as TG Geeks Webcast, but it will also show us TG Squared Studios. If you like our show, or even if you dislike it, you can comment on our Facebook page, our YouTube episodes, or at tggeeks.com, and you could receive a shout-out on a future episode, as these folks did this episode. Or you can call our listener feedback line, as Joe has done and as Brian has done, and you can we'll play your comment on air. 469 TG Geeks. That is 469-844-3357.
This is Mark Biaggi, and you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks webcast. You name it, they'll talk about it.
Okay, so as of the time we recorded this, the latest episode of Doctor Who just aired today. And for anybody who doesn't know, the title is Face the Raven. We're going to talk about it.
Quoth the Raven.
So
Clara is no more.
this will be, oh boy. Well, spoilers.
Sorry.
But by the
Thank
time you hear this, it will be Monday. So I would have hoped that any serious Whovians will have watched this episode already. And as we kind of hinted about, Clara is now ex-Clara. If you know what I mean. She's gone. She has, she's bleeding demised. She's climbed the proverbial curtain, or whatever Monty Python reference I can come up with. She's dead. D-E-D, dead.
Dead.
And it's been telegraphed all season long. Anybody who listens to the other podcast that I do with Eugene Glover, Fusion Patrol, you've heard us talk about how Clara's death has just been telegraphed literally all season. And now it's finally happened. Before I give my thoughts on this, what were your thoughts in terms of Clara's death?
Well, I, this season they actually wrote well for her.
Because she wasn't in it very much. But you're right. But when she was in it, there was no angst.
And if they had played her if they'd written her this way for the entire time, I might not be glad she's gone.
Yeah.
Once again, I have to reiterate, it's not about the actress.
No.
Because she is a fabulous actress. She has done what she needed to do with the part that she was given. She is great. I mean, she's turned in some fabulous performances. I just don't like the character.
No.
So I'm kind of glad that she's gone. I'm a little afraid of where they're going to take the series now, but oh well. I'm not in charge, so
no.
And they certainly haven't listened to me.
I wonder why. You'd think that Stephen Moffat would at least have the decency to hear our rants
listen
and
to our
raves.
podcast.
Yeah, listen to the way we rant and rave about this. My God, I mean, between the two of us and between what I talk about with Eugene on Fusion Patrol, man, we really have a good read on this show. You should be paying attention to us, Moffat, because we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Now that we've pissed off every single serious diehard present-day Who fan.
Oh, well.
Yeah, you can send your hate mail to I hate that gay geek, Ben. Anyway.
.com.
Yeah. My thoughts. Okay, you're right. Clara, this season, I thought was written really, really well. We did not get much of her. Her presence was greatly reduced. In fact, in a couple of episodes, she was really reduced to just like what we saw with the companions in the classic years, who's just there to ask the doctor, oh, what are you doing?
Right.
But she was more than that. She has done more for the sake of the show in various episodes. In fact, I think she turned in a really spectacular performance in the Zygon Invasion and the Zygon Inversion. She was really great in that. And I would say that as acting goes, she turned in another very strong performance in this episode. She was really good, especially when she's making her farewell.
Yeah.
To the doctor. It was very strong. And I remember I remember Moffat had been tweeting, "There will be tears." I've learned this. Anytime Moffat says there will be tears, there won't be. Not on my point, at least. I mean, there was nothing there that really got me all weepy. So, Moffat, if you're listening to this, or if anybody who knows Moffat who's listened to this, don't ever announce that there will be tears, because that is a surefire way to actually ruin the moment.
It's probably there will be tears for those that liked Clara, but I just because I didn't like her character.
But I kind of grew to like her. I very much enjoyed her in the Matt Smith era. I have no problem with that. I did not like the way she was written during the first year of Capaldi, but this year she's been good. I was able to like her again. And this episode saw her being very high profile. She was taking charge. As for her death, man. When we finally realized what the big MacGuffin is for this episode, her death actually became meaningless.
Yes.
And that...
I think that was the point.
That was the biggest negative. And so then I started thinking back, okay, well, let's look at how many Doctor Who companions have died.
Meaningless deaths.
Every one of them.
Adric.
Every one of them.
Every single one of them that has died, their deaths have been meaningless.
Yeah, Adric jumping back into that ship to try and stop something with the Cybermen. Wow, that didn't work. It didn't work for him, and he ended up really just blowing up when the ship hit the Earth. So yeah, meaningless death there. You go back to, I want to say her name was Victoria, and this was in the William Hartnell era during the Dalek Master Plan. Yeah, right out of an airlock.
Yep.
Meaningless. It had no purpose. I'm not going to consider Brett Vine because he was only in the one story, so he doesn't count. Then you move forward, and then you have a symbolic death, and that was Donna.
Yeah.
And
meaningless.
Yeah, I mean, and here's another case where RTD was giving us stories about how her death was being so heavily telegraphed. And then it turns out it's just a symbolic death. It's a death. I wouldn't call it a death of personality because, Donna Noble was just there. She just has no memory of her time with the Doctor, and she'll never have it again. So
you could say Rose died.
Well,
in essence.
In a way, but she ended up in the parallel universe with the clone.
Right.
David Tennant's clone. So she, as far as she's concerned, she and the Doctor clone are now heading up Torchwood in the parallel universe, living happily ever after. So I wouldn't really call that a meaningless death. Not for her anymore. But so what we've got here are deaths that have absolutely zero impact in terms of how they drive the story, in my opinion. There's nothing very substantive about it, nothing very positive, nothing very noble and great about that person's death. And to be honest, okay, in this episode, yeah, Clara had an idea. And I hate to say this, but given the information that Clara was given,
That was a pretty damn good idea, actually.
Well, it was a freaking good idea. It was a freaking good idea. How were they to know?
And it was not expected.
No.
Obviously.
No, it wasn't expected. And I think that if I were in Clara's place, I probably would have made the same choice. Thinking that, all they got to do is, have May or me, a Shildir, remove the chronolock. And, hey, all is well. We live all happily ever after. We didn't know any of these conditions that had been set into place as to why Rigsby got the chronolock placed on him. So Clara's death becomes really, utterly, in my opinion, pointless. And the only thing that it's going to do is that it will drive the Doctor mad.
Yep.
That's a foregone conclusion, because Clara did give this big telegraph in a really wonderful speech, I might add. It was an awesome speech, her telling the Doctor, don't go wild on me, don't go crazy, don't start seeking revenge, don't have sympathy for Rigsby, or any of that. Just be strong. Be strong for me, because that's the best way to remember me. It was a great speech that Clara gave.
Yeah.
And that's the only really great thing to come out of that. Was I bummed by the way she died? Well, kind of, yeah. I was hoping that maybe her death would have more meaning. And it wasn't. So that kind of, wow. I'm really disappointed in that respect. And it makes me kind of question the powers that be for Doctor Who, no matter who's running the show. Are you capable of crafting a death scene that is really noble? And to be honest, Clara did have one. It was one of her when she was the Impossible Girl.
Yeah.
Several times, in fact. She died noble deaths. Her other time aspects did. So why couldn't we give her one as her final send-off?
Exactly,
Man.
yeah.
Moffat, I'm bummed. I'm sorry. I don't know if Moffat wrote this. I'm assuming he did. I'm bummed, seriously, by that. I would have hoped for better. As for the rest of the story, wow, they ended up in what looks like diagonally.
Yeah.
Yeah, people know what I mean by that. Thank you. I'll be here all week. It was a very, very strange concept, and we find out that the Doctor's being summoned by other people, and we see his confession dial again.
What's that all about?
Yeah, I remember when the first episode first kind of ended, we were like, what happened? Who took the Doctor away?
Yeah.
We have no idea. Now, I did read a spoiler for the last episode. I'm not gonna say what it is here, because anybody who wants to see it, they can easily find it on the net. But I'm not gonna say it. But I will say that the Doctor ends up someplace.
Really?
Someplace very, very, very potentially interesting. Take that for what you will. And I'm positive that it will tie into what we got here. We saw how at the very end of Face the Raven, they gave us the big to be continued, and we know that the next episode is called Heaven Sent, and the final episode is called Hellbent. So we can only assume this is more of a 3-parter than the traditional 2-parters that we were getting all season long.
Yeah.
Oh,
well.
I mean, what do you think of the episode as a whole, though?
Yeah.
Well, by your hesitance, I'm going to say that you didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it, but it was a lot of fluff. It just kind of made no sense.
Well,
they just
I think
wrote it to kill her off.
I think you have a seriously valid point there, because really the purpose of the story was to kill Clara. If you want to talk about it, behind the scenes kind of situation.
Yeah. So they had to fill it with something.
They got to fill it with something, and it was very contrived.
Yeah.
I think.
And it was lots of subterfuge that was unnecessary.
Very, very unnecessary. That's the enormous MacGuffin in all of this, which makes me very disappointed. I could only hope that there's going to be one mother of a payoff. There freaking well better be. I mean, if a Shielder had to get the confession dial that we saw at the beginning of this season, if somebody is after the Doctor, and if this has got anything to do with that Time Lord prophecy about the Doctor being responsible for a hybrid, which has been name dropped throughout the season so far, I could only hope that maybe they're going to go for a big payoff. But given what we've had, odds are it won't be. I mean, Moffat has delivered good payoffs in the past, but recently his track record has not been all that spectacular.
Not holding my breath.
I am not either. I am curious, and I agree with you. I think the season has been better all around.
Yeah, I know that I said that I wasn't going to watch it, but I did, and it's kind of.
It's not horrible.
It's not horrible.
It's not horrible, and I think if we just take the approach that, okay, the Doctor Who that we fell in love with when we were, in our teens and early 20s, I mean, that show's gone. This is the new.
No!
I know, but this is the new Who. Yeah, this is the new normal now. This is the new Doctor Who. If you can just kind of work through that personal obstacle, which I really desperately had to do, I think once you kind of get through that point, it becomes easier to enjoy these episodes, so long as they're well written.
They should just call it Doctor New.
Okay, so we'll call it Doctor New. Okay.
Who?
Well, wait. This is a stretch. This one will be called Doctor New, and the very next one is going to be called Goldfinger.
Oh, stop.
Thank you very much. Tip your waiter. Try the steak.
Try the prune Danish. Okay.
I'm done.
Okay, we have a couple of follow-up items. I did want to say one thing. Winner, chicken dinner. Our friend Jeff George won the ticket to
Hey now, Jeffy.
FanFest. So there you go.
We'll see you Friday.
Yeah.
Because we'll be there.
Yep. And also, I would urge you to check out the new website for Beyond the Impact. They've revamped the BTI website, Beyond the Impact, as well as Etched Motion Productions has a new website, which is the company that produces Beyond the Impact. So check them both out. We'll have links on the page.
Yes, and once again, must give major kudos to the Doctor Who Fancast Guide.
Yes.
The Twitter people are Doctor Who Talking Who on Twitter, and you can get the Doctor Who Fancast Guide by following them on Twitter at Talking Who. And in the same vein, I want to give kudos to good friend Brian Weber, who we heard feedback from earlier tonight. And you can read his lovely little postings or news items that he likes to collect in the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News. And if you want to learn more about that, as well as the various little things that Brian likes to say, you can follow him on Twitter at Arkle, A-R-K-L-E, at Arkle. And lastly, want to give a shout out to the Facebook group, The Gay Geek, for allowing us to post our episodes on their page. And their URL is facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek, with special thanks to moderator Jeremiah Reeves. I really like him. I need to friend him because he's a pretty cool guy. I really like him a lot.
Yeah.
And and really not last, because this is really the last thing. What is it that we want from people aside from feedback?
Reviews.
We want reviews. People, we're not there yet. We don't quite get the screenings that we entirely want. We're getting there. We're seriously getting there, but we're not quite there yet where we can catch early screenings for big Hollywood films.
We're getting there.
We're approaching there, and hopefully that'll be changing for us soon. But in the meantime, if there is a review that you want to share with us, hey, by all means, let us know. We'll be happy to post it. We will obviously give you credit for it. And this, I'm going to go so far as to say the same thing applies to stories. People who, they've read some of the little rants that I've made here and there on our TG Geeks website. Occasionally, a story will get posted that, okay, it's a couple of days old, but hey, guess what? Keith and I work full-time jobs. And as much as I wish TG Geeks were our full-time job,
Yeah.
I really wish it were, because I really do enjoy compiling the stories and putting them out there. I get a lot of fun out of that. But I don't have the time because I'm busy working. And as Keith likes to say, sometimes, I'm earning to make cat food.
Yes.
So if there's a news story that you'd like to share, something that you've read, my brother Daniel brought to our attention a story about a possible Ultraman movie. Thank you, Daniel. If there's another story out there that any of you see that you think would make a really good contribution on our website, let us know. We'd be happy to post it on there and give you the credit for it.
Yep. And we would thank you immensely.
Absolutely.
Up next time, hopefully, if everything goes well for us, we will have an interview with the filmmakers of Conditioning, the movie.
Yes.
Out of the UK. We're supposed to do that sometime next week, and we've been chasing this down for.
Oh, this has been
now,
a work,
because they've been in pre-production and production and busy, and they work too, and and 7 hours difference in time really makes a huge difference. But
yeah.
Hopefully we'll have that next time. So stay tuned for that. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out our article for this webcast episode. We'll have several links on the page. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page, our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I am Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. I bid you peace.
Nevermore.